This was 2007. Well, that was the year in particular that I actually shot 5 deer. Well, we had 9 tags to fill, and there was 3 of us hunting. Yep, because we each had 3 tags, thanks to the bonus tags. So anyway, here's what happened. Opening day of 2007 Minnesota Deer Hunters. It was about 7 o'clock in the morning, and I heard my dad shoot. And I thought, good for him. It wasn't probably 10 minutes after he shot, this big old doe comes down at the end of one of my shooting lanes. And I thought, oh, that's a nice sized doe, I should take her. Well, she's walking toward me, so I'm going to let her come right toward me. When she first appeared, she was probably about 150 yards, and she was gaining on me quickly. When she got halfway to me, I noticed that a big buck had stepped out of the onto the shooting lane in the same spot where she came out at. Immediately, I put that big buck in the scope, and I thought, ooh, that's a nice rack. Big, widespread, big body deer. And it was kind of facing toward me. So they got that white patch on their neck, just below their head. And I looked in the scope and I saw that white patch, and I thought, that's a perfect target. So I put my crosshairs on that white patch, and she was about 135 yards away. He was about 135 yards away. And boom! Down he went. And I could see him in the scope lying on the ground. I could see his belly. That's all I could see. Couldn't see his head or nothing else. So I thought to myself, I better go check my dad, see how he's doing. So I waited about half an hour. Went to go see my dad, and because he was only about 300 or 400 yards from where I was. So I took the wheeler over there and said, you get some shooting? Yeah, he goes, was that you? And I said, yeah. And he goes, I got a nice buck. And I said, yeah, me too. And we go over there and we looked at his buck, and I was like, wow, that's a nice buck. He said, yeah, she's a beauty. And I said, yeah, mine's bigger. And he goes, is it really? I'm like, well, it looks bigger than yours. So I helped him gut it out, and we drug it up to the trail where my trail turns off, and he went down, and we dropped his off at the crossroads of the trail, and we went down and got mine. He sees mine, he's like, oh yeah, that's bigger than mine for sure. So we gutted mine out, and we drugged the two of them up to the house there and hung them on the pole, and you could definitely tell that my buck was a bigger buck. But the strange thing was, his weighed 25 pounds more than mine. Because see, mine was old and gray and full of fat. His was in its prime and full of muscle. And we all know muscle weighs more than fat, so here's a picture of him. So anyway, we got the deer on the pole, and it's about 9 o'clock, and headed down to the stand, and sitting in the stand, and it was probably, I don't know, about 10 or so. Here come that doe. She was looking for that buck. And I'm like, oh, well, howdy doody. She was only about 30 yards away. So I pulled up and shot her and dropped her in her tracks. Waited about a half an hour, got down and gutted her out and drug her back to the pole and hung her up on the pole, and I got back to my stand. It was probably about noon or so, and I ate my lunch, and I'm sitting in my stand and thinking, wow, that's pretty nice. I got 2 deer. All of a sudden, down in the other direction, here comes this little 6-pointer. I was like, well, look at you. I thought to myself, well, we got 9 tags to fill, So I kind of followed it through the woods with the scope, and it stopped, and I shot, boom, and it kind of jumped up, and it took off, and it went down, and it hid. I could just barely see it. I picked an opening through the trees, and boom, shot again, and down it went, and I could see it kicking its leg, and I said, yeah, it's done. So I waited about 45 minutes, make sure it was dead and wasn't going to get up on me. And I went down there, and I gutted it out. I drug it back to the pole, hung it up on the pole, and I was back in my stand by 2 o'clock. And I was sitting in my stand thinking, I can't believe I got 3 deer. That's just amazing. And I was thanking Jesus, praising the Lord the whole time. And it was about 3 o'clock. Here come another big old doe, making her way towards me. From another direction. The first one came from, the buck and the doe came from the east. The 6-pointer came from the north. And now from the west, here comes this doe walking toward me. And I thought, oh, that's another nice doe. I'm like, boy, I don't know. Should I? I watched her for a while in the scope, and I thought, yeah, you know what the heck. Boom, dropped her. Waited about a half an hour, and I was just going to get down and go gut her out. I looked over, there's another deer. It was her baby. A fawn, not a real small fawn, kind of an older fawn, but I could still tell he was looking for mama. And it was a young buck. And he come walking up there, and he's sniffing mama, and I thought, well, them younger deer, they're so good eating. Boom, dropped that one. So good thing I had 2 ropes. I went down and I gutted them both out after about 20 minutes. Drug them back both to the pole and hung them up on the pole. And there was my 5 deer on the pole and Dad's 1 deer. So I thought, it don't make no sense to go back to the stand because it's already almost 4 o'clock and there ain't much time left for daylight. So and then I called my wife and I said, yeah, I shot 5 deer today. And she says, why'd you shoot 5? And I said, that's all that I saw. This is Tater. Thanks for listening to my story. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit the like button and add a comment or 2 if you wish. And again, thanks for listening. That's my story. This is Tater. Talk to you later.